What is up, peeps? Welcome back to the channel. Some of the biggest news in League of Legends, especially for NA, has been, well, continuing over the past couple of weeks. We got full videos on this channel if you want to check those out. Most recently, though, one of the biggest names in League of Legends, especially for North America, Doublelift, has spoken up and, well, against a lot of the LCSPA demands that they wanted from Riot Games. Amidst all of this, when you have such a big player speak up, a lot of people are listening. So let's break down Doublelift as he responded to the walkout for the LCS and all of the demands live on stream. First and foremost, he did vote for the walkout in support of players not competing in the LCS until Riot Games can come to the table and further communicate some of their decisions.
Do I agree with the walkout and the demands? Okay, so let me go through the walkout and the demands, and I'll let you guys know. It's not the reason why I voted in favor of the walkout, but it's actually good for us too that there's a 2-week delay to LCS. That's definitely not the reason why I voted. That yeah, it's like fortunate for us because we're having visa issues. 5 head, exactly.
And he also says, you know, that they want the tier 2 scene to be supported. All of the pro players who were there, they want that support. He does, however, also call out Riot Games for the choice they made to get rid of the requirement that LCS teams had to field a challenger lineup in the NACL without actually complying or talking to any of the players or the LCSPA. So the fact that Riot made that choice, and almost what he said, they lied about it, saying there would be no changes for this year, and then all of a sudden cutting that was a huge problem. So the way that Riot handled that situation, he had an issue with.
Tier 2, and they did, in my opinion, a really bad job in so many ways with how they approached it. So they didn't give anyone any notice. Obviously, if you're going to make a decision like that, that's going to affect so many people's lives. People who've signed leases, people who've made plans, you know, most importantly, people who've like situated themselves in a certain place, expecting to have, expecting their contract to ride out to the remainder. Like there's no sign that like tier 2 is going to be killed, and then all of a sudden, you know, all their lives are just completely uprooted and disrupted. It's like, it's pretty fucked up. Like, I don't care what really people say, it's still pro players, right? Like they're amateur players, but they're still professional players. And definitely you deserve at least some level of like warning that your entire scene is going to be exterminated.
But he does also say the NACL, the challenger system for League of Legends, or the LCS, is not perfect by any means. Time and time again, he says that a lot of these NACL players, these academy players, are overpaid, that there's too much money in this space, and that teams being forced to actually field a team they don't want and that they don't actually see a return on makes no sense, in his words.
What is it called? NACL was good? No, I think it was completely dog shit. Actually, I think the fact that the shittiest academy players are getting paid like, you know, 70K and upwards, the worst academy players, and the fact that the scene had almost no viewership, but it was getting constantly pumped money into, just created so many problems. A lot of teams didn't want to be in it, but they're forced to be in it. That's not competitive. Like, we're talking about competitive integrity. There's no competitive integrity in forcing teams to field rosters that they don't care about or want, because they know that like the bottom line is they're not going to make any money on it. They're not incentivized to care about it because there's no skin in the game for them. So I think the fact that teams are being forced to have academy teams was always a stupid idea.
So he voted for the walkout. He wants tier 2 support, but does also say that the tier 2 system has its own issues and maybe understands why some LCS teams were dropping those teams, because on the books, it makes no financial sense with how the current system is that they have to afford a team that brings nothing back to them. The counter argument being the future of NA, where does that go without this kind of system? I don't know. That's more of an elaborate debate out there. He also talks about some of the other issues, and one really interesting point was the relegation system that the LCSPA wanted. They wanted a Valorant-styled relegation promotion system. I don't know if that's to add a couple of spots or some spots to the LCS that you compete for, so you have some of the top challenger teams actually able to rise into the LCS and expand that league. The big problem with this being diluting the value of that LCS spot. He had an interesting take where he said, hey, we don't need more LCS teams. We need less. There's already not enough top talent in North America to field across 10 rosters, let alone 12 or more. He wants to find a way to shrink the number of LCS teams, not grow them. Therefore, there is more top talent for less teams, better concentrated talent on these teams, and maybe a better chance at Worlds or competing internationally.
These are the demands, and when I read the demands, I was honestly a little bit disappointed because I feel like these demands are either unreasonable or just like not the right way of approaching the, coming to the table with something that everyone should want. Valorant style promotion relegation. What does Valorant style mean? This does not mean that that teams can be kicked out of tier 1. This really means that, like, for example, you guys might be thinking promotion and relegation means the bottom 2 teams in LCS can be relegated out of LCS. Well, then where did their $10 million investment go? When they bought into franchising, they're guaranteed that spot. They own that spot. That's what they pay $10 million, hand that over. What do they own now? They own a spot. They cannot be kicked out of that spot. Like, the Riot can't just take their 10 million and be like, okay, bye-bye. Like, you lost to fucking Tyler One's Academy, like, amateur team. You're out of here. So, yeah, that's not how that works. That's not what Valorant style promotion relegation is. Valorant style promotion relegation is the league would expand to 2 more teams, and those 2 teams, so instead of 10, it would be 12. And those 2 extra teams would come from tier 2. And those 2 spots, let's say, it's a 12-team league now, and the bottom 2 teams would be those like temporary spots. Those spots are not owned. Those spots are promoted and relegated between every single split or every single year. I had to think about this for literally 2 seconds to realize there's so many problems with it. Like, the upside is that you're going to get to see the top academy teams play with the LCS teams. You also have the opportunity for those academy teams, for the tier 2 teams, if they're really, really good, if they deserve to be a top team, they can make it to Worlds. That's a Valorant style promotion relegation. Actually, in Valorant, that's pretty crazy, right? So that's pretty cool. That is competitive, in my opinion. That is awesome. I love that idea. Now, in practice, this is actually pretty shit because think about it. The bottom teams in LCS already don't deserve to be here anymore. They paid $10 million a long time ago, and they checked out like 4 or 5 years ago. So I think that there's already too many teams in the league, and there's not even 50 LCS level players in the region, including imports. So why would we want to even further dilute the league by adding 2 even worse teams? So in my opinion, it's the opposite that needs to happen. Instead of adding 2 spots, they need to somehow find a way to cut 2 teams from the league. I think that LCS should have 8 teams, and that would, it's a supply and demand problem. There's too many spots, and there's not enough competitive teams to fill them.
He then later confirms that by some surprise, all 50 players showed up for this vote. And he does also say a vast majority of them did vote for the walkout. But he did clarify that when they voted yes for this walkout, it wasn't necessarily for the specific demands of the LCSPA, which he also admits he disagrees with most of them or how they were brought to the table. These players, in Doublelift's words, did not actually vote yes for those demands. They voted yes because they want better support for the tier 2 scene, but they also want Riot to talk about these things before they make such crazy decisions. The fact that the players were not consulted before they just cut all of those potential jobs, that was what they took issue with. They are voting for future communication and hopefully future support for the tier 2 scene. Ultimately, though, when it comes time for this, he thinks that he and many other players, and I think he probably speaks for at least some other players out there, if it came down to it, he will play. He hopes negotiations will go well, but no matter what, he will be choosing to play, despite voting yes for the walkout.
The last 4 people trickle in, I think, and it's just all 50. Literally all players showed up to the meeting. I was absolutely amazed. If you asked me to bet something, I would have probably bet my life savings, actually. Yeah, I would have bet my life savings that there's no way all 50 players are going to show up. Exactly like what I'm standing for, I guess. What I think we all voted on is not these bullet points. I don't want to speak for everyone, but my feeling is that we didn't vote on these bullet points. We didn't say, yes, we support all of these bullet points. We want Riot to support the tier 2 scene, not just let it, not kill it, basically. Just and especially in the way that they killed it, with no notice, with no discussion, with no, like no dialogue, and in fact just lying to Philip's face about it, lying to the Players Association, and getting away with that. Like, we needed to take a stand, and we did. And I'm like, actually, I'm surprised.
And so this is why, I mean, he's always been an outspoken guy, but certainly people falling on both sides of Doublelift statements. You know, one side saying, hey, there's other players who think this, they just won't say it. And the other side saying, okay, you are the biggest voice in North America, and by saying all of this, you're kind of just trampling out all of the chances that any of these demands or any of these discussions have a chance to go through.
I guess, like, I want to say that I care, but if it's the option of standing by Academy and having LCS Summer Split be canceled, like Riot threatened, and just letting go of the situation, I'm letting go. Like, I'm letting go of the situation. I'm not like so gung-ho about it that I'm willing to not play Summer Split. So, like, when Riot threatened to go nuclear, that's a pretty big threat. Like, I think every player was a little bit affected by that. It's like, whoa, Riot's willing to cancel Summer Split because of this, like, walkout. I hope the negotiations go well.
My response being, well, I guess we got to wait and see. You know, Doublelift says he hopes negotiations go well. When you have someone so vocal, though, saying, hey, when it comes down to it, I'm going to play, I don't know how that, really helps things or how that impacts things as well. So we will see what Riot does. We'll see what the LCSPA does. We'll see what the players do as this 2-week, delay comes slowly to a close. Will we have some games to be played? And what will Riot say at the negotiation table? We'll wait and see. Till next time, what do you guys think about Doublelift speaking up about the LCS walkout? Some huge news. It does continue. Till next time, take care. Okay, bye.